Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's emotional healing class. We're going to be talking about the first of two lessons about aromatherapy. So, welcome. And I'm going to pull up the camera here for a second and just stop the slide presentation. We're working on charts. We've almost done with this is the aromatherapy chart. We're going to be kind of going over some of this tonight. This is the model. This is the wheel we'll look at today, and this is the energy centers we'll look at next time. And on the back are the essential oils. And then we also have another one that has the question affirmations and flower essences for the emotional energy center. So we're kind of excited about that. So if we take the presentation tonight, aromatherapy, of course, is the use of essential oils for healing, and it's become very, very popular, and it is used for physical healing, but it also can be used to enhance mental mood and nervous system balance, as well as help your emotions. And of course, they can be used cosmetically and in cleaning your home and a lot of other things, which we're not talking about any of the physical uses tonight. One of the things that makes aromatherapy very powerful as a tool for aiding emotional healing is that the neurons that are responsible for the sense of smell directly link into the limbic system of your brain. And you'll see this little channel that comes from the olfactory bulb all the way around and comes right into the center of your brain, which is the emotional center of your brain. And there it immediately triggers things. So that's why smells can alert you to danger. Smells can help you relax. Smells can have a very immediate impact on your neurotransmitters and so forth, and then a less immediate impact on hormones, because part of that hypothalamus system is that limbic system is the hypothalamus, which regulates the pituitary and regulates your hormonal output. So the way I've used essential oils in emotional healing is when I first started this, I had taken an aromatherapy course from a Sufi healer called Hakim Chisti, and a company, Attar Bazaar, and he had these very beautiful perfume oils. And what I would often do is I would take an oil and either put it right here on the side of the neck, where the blood vessel is. This is one of the things he taught me to do, or right here where you feel the pulse on your arm, kind of like anoint the person with oil so they'd be smelling it during the session. And because smell is extremely tied into memory, because smells can immediately bring memories to the forefront, I kind of figured out that if you guided a person through an emotional healing session while they were smelling a particular essential oil, that they could, then take that essential oil and use it thereafter, smell it, wear it, whatever, and it would reinforce the experience of the emotional healing. You also can do this by diffusing the oils into the room while you're doing emotional healing work with someone, figure out where they're blocked and what a good oil would be to kind of diffuse into the room to help smell that. Also, there are some oils that when you're doing healing work with people and they leave a particularly negative energy behind them, that you can diffuse or waft around the room to clear that. Frankincense and myrrh, for example, are really good oils for that. And you can also just have a person smell an oil if they're kind of blocked in something, and have it kind of give them an effect. So this is kind of things I do with these essential oils. Now, what I have here is an aromatherapy wheel, and the origins of this are my friend Carl Robinson and I in the early 80s were playing with the Western four elements, and we started building four element models, and eventually he was really interested in aromatherapy and in the use of essential oils for physical healing, and I started dabbling with essential oils following his example. And he had worked a little bit on this aromatherapy wheel with the 4 elements. And then Kimberly and Valis and I helped turn that into a class. We tweaked it a little bit. And then recently, because I have a little more understanding, I further tweaked it, and then my son David helped turn it into a nice, like, very artsy piece. So what we have here is basically 8 basic qualities of energy that you can use. And to basically start, you water, which is the yin element. Okay, water in Chinese medicine associate with the yin. It's cold and it's damp. Then there's a flow of energy. Okay, yin, the yin, like explain, yin draws in and expands, yang contracts and drives away. So yin is cold and damp, which is calming. Yin is like water. Now water can be turbulent, but water generally is soothing, calming, cooling, and fluid. It's flexible, it's yielding. And then water gives into the mixture of like water and air, which you can think of as like mist. And then that goes around into the air element, which is hot and damp, active and fluid. And then that goes into the mixture of air and fire, which is like the bellows blowing a fire and making it hotter. So that's stimulating or exciting. And then invigorating is fire, which is hot and dry and represents like the really active energy. And then fire starts to die down and go into a mixture of fire and earth, what you can think of as like ceramic and brick. It's hard and dry. And then that gives way into the earth element, which is very grounding and centered, and is represents yang, now changing and moving into yin. And then you go into the mixture of earth and water, which is like mud, and which is cooling, but also it's the opposite of stimulating. Now, I just made a decision with David today. We're going to change the word narcotic to sedative, because the narcotic has such a negative connotation. So we're going to, but I didn't change that. And by the way, if you had downloaded the previous handouts that I posted online on the Online Learning Center, I made a few modifications since then, and I haven't finished linking the updated handouts. So I would just want to quickly go through these qualities. Okay, fire and water. Okay, yang and yin. Fire, hot and dry. Yin, cold and damp. Okay, and so invigorating and calming. So the quality of fire would be being enthusiastic, determined, outgoing, active, busy, driven, focused, doing, kind of active. And the lack of that would be not having a good sense of direction, being, wishy-washy, overly yielding to other people, having low energy or low motivation. So something that would be invigorating promotes action, activity, and getting things done. Whereas the calming is the water, which is peaceful and flexible and relaxed and patient and tolerant and open-hearted and yielding. And that overcomes when you have too much fire. You're irritable, you're angry, you're impatient, you're stressed, you're a workaholic, you're intolerant, you're fanatic, you're restless, and it helps promote patience, tolerance, and flexibility. So then you look at the air-earth dynamic, refreshing and sultry. The air element is like, the breath of fresh air, like the rain, the forest after a rain, with a pine forest and the smell of the pine trees and the fresh, clean air. You're renewed, revived, replenished, awake. You drop your burdens. You're open. You're emotionally free. And that helps to overcome things like self-pity and toxic shame and being weighed down with victimhood and sadness and emotional paralysis and so forth. And air is the element of change and renewal and rebirth, rejuvenation. Okay, the earth, on the other hand, has the qualities of being sensual, seductive. It's in tune with your senses, in tune with the earth, in tune with nature, in tune with your body. Sexual passion is there, feeling really embodied, stable, rooted, and so forth. And so the air element, the sultry quality helps you when you're tense and flighty and changeable and flipping around and like airy fairy, airheaded and disconnected from the earth and ungrounded and overly idealistic and so forth. And you're not really embodied. You're not really present in your body. So it promotes embodiment and sensory awareness and the experience of the pleasure of life. And then the other two axes are like the transition points between these elements. So ethereal is where the yin is starting to reach fullness to where it's about to go into the air element and begin to change. And that is a very, fluid state. I like to refer to it, mix air and water together and you get mist, like in mystical. And so there's this quality of being very light and very imaginative and uplifted and open-hearted and open-minded, which is the opposite of being rigid and dogmatic and materialistic and addicted and having all kinds of obsessions and being stuck and uninspired. So the ethereal quality is to promote an openness, imagination, to make one, have greater flexibility. And then the grounding quality, which is, like I said, you bake earth and you make bricks. You bake earth, you make pottery, all right? So it's very hard and very stable, solid, practical, real, very stable, very firm, very, very physically connected. So the grounding quality helps you when you're impractical, you're unrealistic, you're spacey, you're not really aware of what's going on around you. Your head is up in the clouds. You're ungrounded, all right? And promotes stability, awareness of the real world and realistic thinking. The hot and cold, which is stimulating, and we're going to use the word sedating instead of narcotic. The stimulating is like getting poked, right? Like if you want to get a really hot fire so you can melt ore or whatever, you've got to build a fire and then you got to create a bellows and blow lots of air in it, which makes the fire more excited and sets things ablaze, like a forest fire being swept by the wind. So, and that's exciting. It stimulates you. It gets you moving. It gets you up off your chair. It warms you up. It makes you more active. I mean, heat is really a greater activity. And that overcomes when you're cold, you're tired, you're stuck, you're discouraged, you don't have any motivation, you're procrastinating, you're lazy, you don't want to do things. And it promotes you to take the stuff from the air, the ideas and the change and everything, and start doing something about it, putting into practice and so forth. The sedating quality is being relaxed. Your body's relaxed, your mind is quiet, you're still, you're at peace, you're not running around, you're able to go to sleep, you're able to rest, you're able to contemplate things. And that helps overcome feeling overwhelmed, overly stimulated, overly busy, running around, racing to and fro, being agitated, being nervous, being whatever, so that you can relax, rest, and experience an inner stillness. So this is just a basic definition of these qualities going around the wheel. And so if you look at the little circle in the center, this relates to the 6 basic emotions of imbalance that I talk about, of vented fear, suppressed fear, vented grief, suppressed grief, vented anger, and suppressed anger. And you'll notice the colors are opposing because the aids for suppressed anger, which is the green side of the chart, are on the red side of the chart, the fire. In other words, suppressed anger is like too much water element. And so you need fire to counterbalance that and so forth. So this basically shows the different qualities of essential oils that I'm relating to, helping to counterbalance too much of one of those other things. And it's all basically four pairs of opposing qualities, and they move in a circle. And this is one thing I want everybody to kind of understand, which is that there's a direction of flow. So for example, if something is floral, it starts out over here with this kind of calming, whatever, but it also has a movement. It's going to lift you out of being calm into being more creative, ethereal, open, and so forth. If something is, say, minty, it has a refreshing quality, but it also starts moving you to be more stimulated. And so there's a tendency for the oils and remedies to kind of lift you and push you in a direction, get you moving when you're stuck. So you may not always want to go over to something that's completely opposite. If someone's stuck over here, you may want to go over here somewhere and kind of help start pulling them into a movement to get them to start making changes. So everything that's here is not like hard, fast, rigid, use this for that, use that for the other. It's designed to give you a artistic, intuitive sense of these things, so it can help you pick oils, and maybe you can use muscle testing or things to identify things with people. I'm going to pause for just a second and get just my screen up so I can kind of also show you. Okay, see, one way you can tell how essential oil is affecting a person is by looking in their eyes, at their pupils. So if their pupils are big, that's sympathetic nervous system activity. If they're small, that's parasympathetic nervous system activity. And if you take and you look really closely at a person's pupils, and you smell an essential oil or waft an essential oil, if it's making a change in their nervous system, you'll actually see their pupils change slightly. It's a very subtle effect, so you got to be looking closely. I'm probably not close enough to the camera to really see that. You can also do that with the pulse. Like an oil can speed up the pulse. If it's stimulating, it's going to speed up the pulse. If it's sedating, it's going to slow down the pulse. If it's relaxing, it's going to make the pulse feel fuller. If it's toning, it's going to make the pulse feel more toned. And you can do that too. In other words, you can sit there with the pulse and feel the pulse with an oil. Get your pulse. And as I smell that, I can feel my pulse just slow down just a little bit, okay, and actually expand. So you can see that, as well as there's a solar plexus response, meaning if a person smells an oil that's really not good for them, let me see if I can find something that's a little much for me, since I'm, and okay, there's almost a tendency for you to jerk back like that, to pull away from it. I don't need stimulus right now. So the patchouli was nice and the cinnamon was not, because cinnamon's very stimulating. So those gives you some ideas about how to use the essential oils. It would be fun, to be able to teach a more advanced, complete class on this, but this will give you a really good overview. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over in the calming to ethereal zone of the chart, and just go around the wheel and give you some examples of some oils. So geranium, which is a floral, very fresh smelling oil that is also a little bit herbaceous and slightly sweet. So it's on the yin side of the chart, watery side of the chart, and it's moving in from calming to ethereal. And so geranium is one of those essential oils that calms the mind, relaxes the body. It has a calming effect. And in TCM terms, it's considered cooling and moistening, which puts it smack dab in the middle of the water quadrant, and something that when you've got fiery, stress-filled emotions, you're irritable, you're frustrated, blah, 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 it can help to cool you down, calm you down, and it can help both depression and anxiety by balancing your nerves, but it's going to be more the kind of depression that's caused by anxiety, by being too stressed. Now, another floral, fresh, herbaceous scent is Clary Sage. And my picture is covering up the words Clary Sage. I should turn off my webcam for a second. So there, Clary Sage. And this is also a very yin fragrance. It actually promotes, yin is feminine, and this actually is a scent that actually promotes estrogen, promotes the female hormones. It via the limbic system and the hypothalamus, it actually helps increase estrogen in the body. And it has an ethereal, euphoric quality that lifts you out of feeling anxious and depressed, but it doesn't lift you so far as to make you like ungrounded. It calms the mind, reduces stress and tension, and increases your energy. One thing that you understand is that fire is energy discharge. Okay, stimulation. You know, the warming oils are really stimulating a discharge of energy, whereas the calming oils are actually stimulating the building up of energy. And I did at the beginning of this thing put a thing where you can download the color handouts for this. If I hope you can see that, but there is a way you can download the color handouts for this and follow along. Now, peppermint moves away from being floral into being kind of a fresh smell that goes into what we call being minty. And the herbaceous is sort of like a smell of grass and green things. All right, it's not. It's not like the sweet fragrance. So peppermint is a little bit herbaceous and gets into, of course, being minty, because peppermint is, of course, is in the mint family, and probably one of the main mints. And at this point, yin is filling up and moving into the air, and you're getting into the refreshing area of like basically starting to warm you up, but not like stimulating you. It's still kind of a cool quality about it. And one of the things about peppermint is it helps you digest things. It helps you digest things physically. It helps you digest things mentally. It helps you digest things emotionally. So it's a really good oil for brain fog. So if you're like having let's see if I've got some right here. If you're having a hard time studying or staying alert while driving, then peppermint can help clear your head. And it's really good for brain fog that's associated with indigestion and intestinal gas and that sort of thing. And it helps to overcome mental fatigue. Pine is moving even more up into the air quadrant. And that's why I mentioned about the whole idea of refreshing is like the smell of a pine forest or fir or spruce trees or any of those kind of evergreen trees that, especially after a rain, and you feel that freshness and that uplifting, like you want to just go, oh, because it's like the air. It's like a releasing thing, and it helps you pull you out of feeling lethargic or depressed or feeling heavy, and opens you up, helps you like breathe freely And part of this is these remedies, especially these ones that are really good for the lungs, usually have this quality. And the lungs, of course, are associated with grieving and sadness and feeling heavy. And so it helps you release those. And just as the flower essence of pine helps you let go of unwarranted shame, fear, and guilt, so does the pine essential oil. And it gives you like hope and helps you be more confident. And so it has a lot of that same quality as the flower essence. And it's warming and is drying and tonifies the key. It's moving in the direction of fire. It isn't there yet, but it's moving that way. And of course, tea tree is very similar. Tea tree is a little bit warmer. It's a little more spicy. It's not quite as it's starting to move a little more from the air towards the fire. So it dispels feelings of cold, it awakens you, it invigorates you, it starts getting you moving, it uplifts you, of course, and it's very good for people who are shy, timid, fearful, feel like they're victims and that sort of thing, and have poor health. And it helps them to invigorate them and stand up for themselves. One of the things that's interesting is in my work with emotional healing is that immunity is linked in with self-esteem. So when you don't feel good about yourself, your immune system doesn't stand up to protect you as well. So when you invigorate your sense of self-worth and your sense that I'm a person worth defending, it enhances your immune system. And so tea tree is well known as an infection fighting herb, but it does also enhance the self-esteem. And so does eucalyptus, which is like tea tree, is very vaporous quality. Let's see, I'll grab some eucalyptus here. If you've ever been out and smelled eucalyptus trees, there's a lot warmer camphorous quality to eucalyptus. The camphorous quality moves more towards the stimulating side. So eucalyptus is both refreshing and moving into being stimulating. And so it has like a cleansing, clearing effect. And again, helps a person feel like they can breathe freely, let go of negativity, let go of the past, and have a renewed sense of hope, optimism, and vigor, and kind of decongest, if you will, a person's feelings when they're stuffy and congested. Marjoram moves into having a slightly spicy quality, as well as it has a little bit of woody quality. And when you get an oil like that has oils have layers of fragrance. It's called a top note, middle note, and a bottom note. And so sometimes they're I'll turn off my camera so you can read all the writing on that. The top note may be one energetic, and the undertones may be the opposite energetic. And when that happens, you've got an oil that actually helps to balance that characteristic. So basically, even though this is kind of stimulating and invigorating, it winds up helping you to balance that with the sultry grounding quality. So even though it has a stimulating effect, it is also a muscle relaxant, but it, instead of making you want to be more sensual and sexual and so forth, it actually is one of the oils that diminishes that, which relieves a sense of obsession, relieves a sense of emotional craving, like wanting to eat to comfort yourself, and helps you be more self-contained and self-nurturing. Thyme also has that same quality. It has a turpentine, like slightly spicy quality, but also a woody and herbaceous undertone. But still, I would put it as primarily on the invigorating side, with a secondary effect of helping to ground you, so that your energized quality is also grounded in reality. It's not, detached from reality. So this is a nerve tonic. It promotes mental focus and clarity. It is also helps your immune system and your sense of self-worth. It strengthens the thymus gland. It dispels discouragement and despondency. It helps, and this is one of the interesting things, it's very helpful for children who are disturbed because there's disharmony in the family, because it helps them detach a little bit from that. And it also helps someone to be less dreamy, which is over in the ethereal quality, and moving into being more detached and logic and focused, which is moving over more to the more yang quality on the side of the wheel. Okay, so cinnamon, which is the one oil I grabbed, is kind of a very spicy oil. This is a spicier or pungent oil that's very young, very fiery, very stimulating. So instead of calming a person down, this is like stimulating them to get moving. So it can help with depression from extreme fatigue. It can wake the fire up in a person. And unlike Clary Sage, which tends to stimulate the estrogens, cinnamon tends to stimulate the testosterone. I've been looking for the source on that. But years ago, I watched a program on aromatherapy, and they were talking about how they had looked, the whole program was on essential oils and how they affect your emotions. And they did that little thing. We're going to tell you a little later about the oil we found that most strongly, stimulated testosterone. And that's why I remember it, because they kept saying that. And they finally said it was cinnamon. So like the smell of cinnamon buns, it's very invigorating, kind of, it invokes kind of the more manly kind of thing. There's a little bit of a woody undertone too in cinnamon as well. Clove also has a slightly woody undertone, but it's also, again, one of the pungent, strong, stimulating, fiery oils. So it's interesting that it numbs the nerves when you apply it topically, but when you smell it, it helps you be energetic and self-assured and feel more confident and stimulated. Now we're moving into another class of oils, which is your sharp citrusy oils. Now, originally, my friend Carl put all of the citrus oils there, but I just looking at it, there's citrusy oils that are more sweet, which I put in a different part of the chart where you have like a fruity aroma. The lemon has a little bit of underlying sweetness, but the lemon is as a sharper, kind of more sour note. And I also know that Kimberly Ballas and I, who worked a little bit on sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system balance, that people who are parasympathetic dominant are relaxed by things that stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. And lemon is one of the fragrances that helps balance out someone who's parasympathetic dominant, which means it's actually stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. So it has an invigorating quality about it. It's not so much a stimulating quality as it kind of makes you feel, not tired. It makes you clear-minded, helps you feel more confident, warm, glowing. It has a cooling aspect to it too, so it's a balancing oil because it's also got that note of sweetness underneath it. Lime is very, very similar. Lime is very uplifting. It's helpful for people who are apathetic and depressed. It helps overcome fatigue. It's a very invigorating fragrance. I really love the smell of lime. And same thing with lemongrass, which is also a kind of a sharp citrusy thing. The thing about lemongrass is it's more of a mental fragrance that basically helps you concentrate. When we get into the energy centers, it's probably one of the best oils for stimulating the left brain, which helps you think clearly. It also helps you kind of wake up in the morning, have that. It's got a little bit, because it's got a little bit of herbaceous quality to it. It also is a little bit moving into the refreshing quality. So it's both refreshing and invigorating. Oils, again, don't sit necessarily in just one part of the quadrant, because they have, again, different kind of notes in there, like a major tone, and then you can think of them as like music of like overtones that give it kind of a secondary effect. Now, I put all of the resinous oils onto the part of the chart where you're moving out of fire into being more grounded, because that's my experience of them. Is the more resinous oils, they have a bit of a stimulating quality, but it moves you from being stimulated in towards being calmed. So it invigorates you, but it also calms you down and makes you more grounded and stable. So there's a grounding quality of frankincense, but it also has a turpentine-like odor that makes it also somewhat refreshing. So it's one of those fragrances that kind of has a balancing effect. It helps you be open, at the same time grounded, which is really good for meditation, because you're basically in a calm, very open-minded, clear-headed state to basically be able to relax. It's a very good oil for cutting ties with the past. I find it's a very helpful oil for people who have poor immunity due to poor self-esteem. And it's very purifying. It helps to drive out, kind of the negative feelings. Now, another resinous oil that's more spicy and a little bit more earthy, more grounding, is myrrh. Myrrh definitely makes you have a more grounded awareness. Now, when I say grounded awareness, that's awareness that's not imaginative. That's awareness of actually what's going on around you, being very clear and seeing things very clearly. And again, it's an oil that's been used to aid meditation, but it also, in its moving from yang to yin, it helps people who feel stuck in their lives to contemplate a correct course of action and move forward. I also find it helps with the grounding. Rosemary. Now, rosemary, again, is an oil that has a woody herbaceous odor, and then a woody balsamic, which is on the other side of the chart. It's both invigorating, but it's also grounding and promotes mental clarity. It stimulates circulation. It's very helpful for the elderly when they're depressed, because it has an uplifting quality to it. And it is a very, very good mental stimulant for memory, which is why they say rosemary for remembrance. Now, cypress, and I have cypress trees in front of my house, and there's actually quite a few cypress trees here in southern Utah, and you can see they grow up really straight, really tall, act like a windbreak. They have a kind of a sweet balsamic odor with a refreshing vaporous quality to it. And they're obviously very straight and upright. So the essence of cypress oil is that it helps when you're feeling overburdened or overwhelmed, when life is like wanting to blow you over, if you want to think about it. It helps you find your center, and it helps you stand tall and be firm, which is this grounded quality. And it's very helpful for when you're having to go through transitions to help you feel a sense of inner stability when things are changing around you. Also, Atlas cedarwood, another very, very strong tree. Now, this one has the overtones, the lighter notes are camphoric, refreshing. The undertones are woody. So it is moves from air to fire, but also has a little bit of a grounding quality to it at the same time. It strengthens your energy and it calms your stress, but again, it helps you stand up to life and deal with difficult circumstances. Now, sandalwood moves now down into the oils that are really, truly grounding. It's woody, it's soft. I love the smell of sandalwood. I probably spend way too much time up in my head. Do I have sandalwood here? I probably do, but I can't see it right off the bat. So it's earthy and sedative. When your emotions are agitated and so forth, or you're irritable or hot-headed or overly aggressive, sandalwood calms you down, quiets your mind, helps you get in touch with your emotions, helps you get your emotions more centered. And so it's another oil that's been used for prayer and meditation because it allows you to be spiritually aware at the same time being grounded in that spirituality, not overly imaginative or up in the clouds. It really is a very, very gray up in the air element, pulls them down into the earth element, pulls you down into your body, which makes it a bit of an aphrodisiac from the standpoint of allowing you to connect with your senses and enjoy physical touch and physical pleasure, and very grand. It's the hippie fragrance, actually. They used to use it to cover up the smell of pot. But also, if you just think of that kind of idea of the hippie, mellow, no problem, man, that kind of thing, that's patchouli. It's kind of like now as you move out of those, earthy tones, whatever, you move into what I call the sweet citrus, the sweet, fruity kind of fragrance. And what I learned in aromatherapy is that the oils that have a sweetness to them, that smell sweet, are very much help a person relax and play. It brings out the playful inner child, the inner joy, the inner happiness, and so forth. And it calms down kids who are restless and distressed and so forth. So it gets into that sedative, calming area of the wheel, and it helps people feel sweet and loving and get along and so forth. And so mandarin is one of these. Another one of these is orange, which is very yin, sedative, calming. Helps children who have indigestion and insomnia because they're nervous. It gives you that playful, joyous feeling. I don't know. You just think about orange. Orange is just it's youthful. It's not serious. And that whole area, which we'll talk about next week, which is energy center number 8, the pancreatic energy center, helps you learn not to take life too seriously, helps you be able to play and have an enjoyable time. Pink grapefruit falls in that same category. And here's an interesting thing. Pink grapefruit actually has a testosterone lowering effect. Again, opposite wheel. The more fiery is the more yang, which is more masculine. Oils over there tend to promote more of like an assertive, aggressive, stand up for yourself, fight for what you want kind of thing. Oils on the other side is more playful. Let's get along. Let's have fun together. Let's relax. Let's, whatever. So pink grapefruit is something that can help. So it says, is there an oil that will help us remember all this? Well, hopefully you'll get the notes and you'll review them. And like I said, I may go, and the best way to do this is to play with it. I mean, get some essential oils and play with them. And I'll talk more about that in our next session too. But again, this is more on the yin side. So the helichrysum now moves, it has a little bit of a fruity sweet thing, but it actually starts moving into an herbaceous quality again, like the tea, like the smell of tea. And it's a calming remedy. But what it is it's a remedy that helps people who are emotionally cold. They can't open up. Okay, yin water is opening up, being relaxed, being playful, being open. And if you are emotionally cold, then you shut down. You don't let anybody close to you. You build a wall against you. You can't open up to people. So it grounds you and it heals emotional scars. Helichrysum is a scar healer, but it's an emotional scar healer as well. When you didn't receive the love you needed as a child and you have deep-seated emotional wounds, it helps open you up and helps heal those emotional scars. Chamomile is a little bit fruity, sweet, floral, very fresh smelling, which pulls it right over into the yin, being calming to ethereal in its effect. It's an excellent oil for people who are peevish, irritable, get upset over little things, for disturbed children. It calms down the adrenal gland, so it calms down the feeling of stress, and so forth. And then ylang ylang, okay, which is a very floral oil. Okay, now I'm going to go through a couple of floral oils. The floral oils are often very opening to the heart. It helps a person relax. It helps them feel emotionally open. And these oils often will act as aphrodisiacs as well. But they're aphrodisiacs in the sense that they promote feelings of love and tenderness, not so much the physical, get in touch with your senses, but more get in touch with your heart kind of thing. And ylang ylang is very helpful for people who are really hard on themselves to soften and open up. Bergamot, this is the flower of a citrus, not the actual citrus. So even though there's a slightly citrusy quality to it, it's mostly floral. And it again helps with anxiety and depression, especially when that's associated with low self-esteem and excessive self-judgment. And it helps you overcome the belief I'm not good enough. And then rose. Rose is my go-to remedy for the heart. It opens up the heart. It helps release feelings of grief and sadness and anger and fear, and help you be open to love. It helps heal emotional wounds from, being rejected, or, heartache from losing love, going through a divorce, or, the loss of a loved one. It helps you find new love, new friendship. It helps you be more empathetic and compassionate for others. It's very comforting and very gentle, but it has a warmth to it. There's a little bit of a spicy undertone to rose that is warming. So while it's calming and cooling and opening, it also warms you up a little bit. It moves you into a more warm, loving place. So it's a spiritual aphrodisiac, again, meaning that it promotes intimacy based on love, on having an open heart of sharing love with your partner. Lavender is a very floral fragrance, but it's moving now back into the slightly herbaceous, fresh zone, becoming more ethereal. It's a sedative, but it also is uplifting. It helps lift you up when you're feeling depressed and gloomy. It's said to nurture the soul, and it helps you have a more spiritual focus to things. Now, what I want to do is see if I can find this. Just give me 1 second, and I'm going to get my Aromatherapy Wheel up. And I want to just come back to this wheel again, because this is on the chart. If any of you really are interested in this, and you don't want to have to remember this, then I want to remind you we're actually working on a chart, and it will be available soon, where the chart actually lists oils. So it actually lists oils here, and then on the back, where it explains the fragrance, it tells you what categories the fragrance is in, and also what energy centers that I find that it's most helpful for. But again, we've been going around the wheel, and I've been trying to get this idea of, the different qualities of the oils, moving around this wheel from yin to yang and back to yin again, from starting kind of with water and air, moving around to air to air and fire and so forth, again moving back around to water, and then finally back to the ethereal. So it's to give you kind of, again, an intuitive feel. Like it's like colors, it's like music. There's qualities to music, there's qualities to color, and as you kind of get an intuitive feel for these qualities, you start to be able to say, oh, I think what we really need to do is kind of help. This person needs an uplifting fragrance. They're kind of stuck. They're overly practical. They're so grounded and hardened that they need to open up to new ideas. So I'm going to use an etheric oil to help promote them. And again, you can use muscle response testing with this, or any kind of intuitive assessment that you might want to use to help you to use this. So this is, to me, really fun, and a lot of fun stuff to play with. Like I said, I started off playing with the Attar Bazaar perfume oils, and then I've collected a lot of different essential oils to kind of play with, and and that's basically how now I'm going to answer a few questions right now. Nature Sunshine has Roman chamomile, and Roman chamomile and German chamomile are so similar in their effects that it's not really that critical. There's a difference. Same thing with cinnamon leaf and cinnamon twig. Cinnamon leaf is probably, the quality of the oil is going to be a little bit different. But again, it's the same category of oil. The cinnamon leaf and the cinnamon twig are going to be in the same general area of being kind of spicy, pungent, therefore stimulating, moving into invigorating. That's one of the reasons why I like looking at things this way, is because I've never liked the idea of just trying to memorize a list of oils and say, this one's good for this, and this one's good for that, and this one's good for the other, because it doesn't really work that way. There are certain qualities of oils, and when you look at the person and you see kind of where their energy is, and you kind of get an idea of some of the energies of the oils, you can use the oils to help kind of shift their energy, to open them up and help move them so they get unstuck. Because you can get kind of stuck in any one of these areas, where you can be stuck being a workaholic and driven to blah, 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 or you can be stuck being lethargic and unmotivated and you can't get yourself moving, or you can be stuck in the sense of being really like, oh, I'm full of all kinds of ideas, but I'm never able to make any of them a reality, ground them down, or I'm so like practical and pragmatic that I'm totally closed to any new ideas. So everyone is out of balance in different ways. And the whole idea we're trying to do is create greater balance in our lives. And we will let people know when the charts are available. They're going to be laminated. Right now, I've got to send them off. I've got a couple of last minute tweaks to make to them. Then I'm going to send them off for proofreading. And then once they're proofread, we'll start printing them and let people know. But they'll be probably the same price as our blood type charts, which is like, I don't know, between $12 and $15 each, $12 per chart. Anyway, so we'll advertise the final price when they're done. But I decided to do these because I realized that people could use these as like tools if they're really going to do this work. So if someone just said, if I'm stuck and not moving, okay, so if you're stuck and you're not moving, then what you want is oils that are more stimulating, okay, stimulating into invigorating. So you want to pick something that helps you get unstuck, helps you get moving. So like here, I've listed as the stimulating the camphorous oils: Atlas, cedarwood, eucalyptus, oregano, all Also, I've also listed some things that you don't usually find as essential oils to give you idea, which is sulfuric, like garlic, onions, mustard, horseradish. Or you could even do something that's a little bit vaporous, like tea tree, frankincense, whatever. But what you want to do is smell the oil. And because when an essential oil smells good to you, when you really like want to just drink it in when you smell it, it's a perfect oil for you. It's perfectly balancing for you. And I'm just going to grab a couple of these oils that I've got here because I want to just like this is, well, that's what I need. See, I'm just like, I kind of knew that this would be one. see how just that you don't have to know this. You just have to kind of get an idea of energetics of oils, and then waft it under the person's nose. And when they act like that, like you and what I'll do is I'll waft it under their nose like this, and they'll go, and I'll start moving it away, and they'll move towards it because they just need it, because it makes them feel more balanced. That's a rose fragrance from Attar Bazaar called Arabian Wild Rose. It was one of the first oils I tried. And it's so floral and refreshing. And right now it's been a long, hard week. We drove to California to pick up one of the boys who was staying with his older brother and his wife. And school started today. And so we had to go pick him up and bring him back. And we got in like at midnight last night, and I had to wake up this morning and a little bit tired and just, a little bit stressed and everything. And so I'm very fiery. The last few weeks I've had a lot to do, and I've been driving myself. So something over there in that floral thing that opens you up, makes you feel relaxed and peaceful. It's wonderful. So you don't have to like rigidly memorize stuff. Just get out and start playing with it. And you'll start to sense, what oils you need. And what you can do is, rather than, buy everything, buy a few oils, like maybe one oil in each of like the major quadrants to start playing with. And then you can kind of see how they affect you. And then you can gradually increase your sense of oils. We don't have this up on the website to pre-order. We'll probably have it up maybe by late this week, early next week to pre-order. And also we have one more session on aromatherapy. So, someone just said, that's how I do a sandalwood. Yeah. In fact, I'm still smelling that. Gosh, that's lovely. Oh my gosh. Oh, I needed that. So what we're going to do next time is I'm going to go through the emotional energy centers again. We went through the emotional energy centers with the once to kind of introduce them. We went through them again, talking about some flower essences that work on them. This time I'm going to go through them, and I'm going to give you the question affirmations that we use, the statements that we have people read when one of the emotional energy centers is weak. We have people read these statements, and after they read that statement, we muscle test them. And if they test weak, then we know that they don't believe that they've got a dragon operating, an unresolved negative belief system operating that is inhibiting them from being able to make that positive statement. So then I have a list of statements. So with that list of statements, then we do the question affirmation technique. And then you can use essential oils to help open that up. You can use flower essences to help open that up, or the other tools we're talking about. So the other chart that goes with this has all of the statements that we have people read when they test Wicca on one of the energy centers, and it has all the flower essences for those energy centers on the back, and plus both of them have the little chart of the 12 energy centers along with the colors that go with those 12 energy centers. So I'm putting this together because I'm really trying to make this easy for people to do. We need more people who can do emotional healing work. I would encourage you, in addition to watching these videos, if you're really interested in this work, I have a YouTube playlist of recommended videos on emotional healing. I just posted one about a lady using tuning forks to kind of clear energy blockages from people and her experiences with this. It was very interesting because she says the same thing I do. If you suppress an emotion, it's like stuck. It's like a toxin. It's like emotional constipation. You have to move with life, okay? Sometimes we feel angry. Sometimes we feel afraid. It's just a vibration. If you don't deny it, if you just experience and let it move through you, it moves through you. It teaches you and it's gone. If you deny it, you say, I don't feel that way, it's not true, and I suppress it, then it's like refusing to pee when you need to, okay? It builds up inside of you and it causes problems. If you blame it on someone else, then you've disempowered yourself to change it, because now the only way you can get rid of this emotion in your mind is for somebody else to change or something else in your life to change, which means you're disempowered. And also, what I mentioned this morning, I did my higher perspective broadcast, and I didn't talk about the oils, but I talked a little about the energetics, the yin and yang, the 4 elements, and that sort of thing. So if you're interested a little bit learning more about the energetics, you might want to watch that video because it'll kind of go over what the air, water, and fire earth are all about. And I'd like to teach more on this, but I will get into that in the 4th class in this series. So everyone, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you found this enlightening. The whole purpose of this is I'm trying to open your mind to ideas and possibilities of how you can work with people to help them to heal emotionally and overcome their feelings. Oh, okay. When you smell an oil, if the oil is more stimulating to your sympathetic nervous system, okay, so it's more on the fire side of the oils, it will make your pupil get bigger, okay? If you smell an oil and it's more on the parasympathetic side, which is the more yin side of the chart, it will make your pupil get smaller. Now, if you have small pupils, you want to use oils that help your pupils get a little bit bigger to get balanced. If you already have big pupils, you want to smell some oils to help your pupils get smaller so you're a little bit more balanced. I was just pointing that out because you can actually, this is, when we were teaching the aromatherapy, this is what we did. And it would be really, really fun to have a live aromatherapy class. I mean, I really would love to do, it's expensive for people to travel, I know, but it would be so fun to do a live aromatherapy class where you can actually do this, where you actually take a bunch of these oils I have and you have people smell them and you notice how they react from their gut instinct towards it. You notice how their pupil responds. You feel their pulse and you notice how their pulse changes when they smell the oil. All of that is much more instructive than anything I've told you. You will start to learn how to intuitively sense how these oils are operating in the body, how they're shifting the energies of the body. Are they slowing down the pulse, which is sedating? Are they stimulating it? Okay. Are they opening up the pulse, which is the damp or etheric idea? Or are they tightening or toning the pulse, which is the drying damp thing? So all of these things are affecting the energies. We are a field of energy. And that's why I recommend this little video I saw today, because she's talking about the energy that we're immersed in. And as you tweak that energy, the body actually heals. And you can tweak it with a lot of different tools. She uses tuning forks. I've been using flower essences and essential oils and question affirmations and so forth. Whatever tools you feel comfortable with, those are the tools you should adopt. I'm just trying to help you understand the whole concept of balancing out your energies, removing blockages and discord and inner disharmony to get into the flow of the movement of life. And then you feel alive and you feel vibrant and you don't feel stuck anymore, and you're able to do things. So thank you all for participating in this class. And I'll hopefully see you all next week when we talk more about essential oils and talk about how they affect the emotional energy centers, which I think you'll also find equally fascinating. So good night.